this week is looking good for the local bourse. If you're comparing the previous weeks, we've seen about 2 green closes already for the past 2 trading days. But let's get a check on what's driving sentiment. Join us now is Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. He's a CEO of Finance with Mukhtar, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
My pleasure.
So it seems the second half of 2024, that's if you're looking at the local bourse, is kicking off quite weak, at this point. But we're seeing some kind of movement this week. But do you think what we've seen so far in the second half is the beginning of a big correction in the equities market?
Well, you can say it's a correction per se, but again, you have to look at it as the area of perception and fundamental coming to play in the market this moment, because a lot of people are beginning to see value when those prices come down. And I can say most of those downward trend in the market was largely driven by the financial sector. And you and I know why that happened, because of the recapitalization of banks. I said in your program some time ago that until we have a clear-cut direction of where these banks are going in terms of their recapitalization plan, you continue to see those ups and downs in those equity. And I think for now, everybody know where they're going. Everybody have a clear-cut direction on how they want to raise funds, either through public offer right issues. And I think so investors are beginning to see value and looking at fundamentals. Now, value and fundamentals and perception are 3 things that really play in the market at this moment. Perception is in terms of corporate governance. What do you see in those companies? What are your own individual perception on it, or what are your trading pattern when you look at this company? Fundamentals has to do with a lot that has gone on in these companies thus far, looking at what they have been able to achieve, what they are planning to achieve with the right issue. Value also have to do with, as an investor, what are the value that you get in this share, especially in terms of dividend payout going forward and price appreciation. So all these 3 issues are playing at the market at this moment, and it seems to favor the market, and that's why you're seeing the upside you're seeing now.
Right, and definitely we know most of these companies are trying to raise funds at this time. We've seen the banks already hitting the market. But how difficult is it, raising money when there's a cost of living crisis if you're trying to actually get retail in? Because we know the institutional investors would also be hit a little at this time.
I think, Larry, you've hit the nail on the head. I think that's the challenge. You're going to... The market is going to lose a lot of retail investors, because some of them might not even have the capacity to take their right. Some of them bought these stocks at an all-time low. Some of them bought it below 10 naira. Some of them bought it at an average of maybe 12 to 13 or 14 naira. And so you're giving them 50% of it. It's going to be very, very difficult. So most retail investors might not be able to take all their right issues. And that is a challenge for the retail investors. But for the institutional investors and the high net investors, they see that as an opportunity now to begin to amass a lot of these shares because they know that a lot of retail investors might not be able to take all of their rights. So I totally agree with you. We'll see a situation whereby the market may not get so much of retail investors any longer. What you get is high net investors and institutional investors. But in the long run, you realize that high net investors and institutional investors tends to drive capital appreciation, where retail investors seems to sometimes stay because of the good dividend payout, looking out for passive income. So we'll see the market have excited days ahead of the market in terms of capital appreciation and dividend payout. But if you look at the plans, what each of these banks are planning to do, is good what they're planning to do, but like you said, retail investors will have serious challenges taking over their rights. So it might just go to the institutional investors.
Okay, so what's your advice to that retail investor that wants to invest but has to also decide, do I eat or do I invest some of this money? Because we also have some of those wannabe investors at this time that are trying to look long term, see how they can actually accumulate wealth. What's your advice?
Yeah, my advice for them, if you're a retail investor and you've been in the market for wife, since you've been in the market for the past 2 years, you realize that your equity has been able to beat inflation good time because you've seen over 100 and something % gain in some of the price appreciation, not talking about the dividend payout, which has also increased by over 100%. So my advice for them is to see how much of those rights you can take with the little of funds that you have, and also to look at the possibility of even taking up some of these stocks, especially when they come down, because definitely, like we always say, the market is not upside. There will be times that they may create an opportunity for them. But for now, my advice for them is to make sure that you see out of those little funds that you have to eat, if you can put aside some to take some of your rights, and then hopefully believing that future income will come up. And I need to say that some of the banks also have good strategy whereby they are telling their investors to reinvest their dividend pay. Some of them are saying that we won't come to the market now until after we pay interim dividend. So that will give our retail investors opportunity to be able to invest some of those interim dividends back into those equities. So the strategies are different, but again, for retail investors, I think it's time to really look at the long-term future, like you've said, take some of those rights and don't just allow them to pass by, especially with the kind of capital acquisition you've made for the past 2 years, being able to make you afloat of inflation.
Yeah, definitely not an easy time to be an investor, but it's always great having your perspective. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you.
My pleasure, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get a check on the close for yesterday. Back above 100,000 level for the all-share index, but just holding it by hand's breadth there, but 0.11% up, and we see 62 billion naira that was made right there in the market. That's it from me on Business Morning. We'll give you a summary of the stock market close later on today. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. I hand things back over to the Sunrise Daily team.